Jerry. I didn't say hello to Jerry yet. Warren.
Yeah,
Jerry, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit
Area.
about conservation doing, we'll start the meeting officially. And,
Okay, we'll do that. And I was gonna say, this year we put in 9 styles, or I shouldn't say we, I should say the Lee Wolf chapter of Trout Unlimited installed 9 different styles. 3 of them were kind of different because they're two-way. The swinging gate, which we have become famous for, on 3 of them are going between fences, between landowners' land, not by the stream or a road. So therefore they had to be two-way. And our esteemed president here came up with a couple of latches that work real well, and we've got those installed on the thing. And I'll go ahead and say it there, we've got enough posts. And thanks to Denny Sullivan, for the great price we got those for, but we have enough posts for 14 more styles. And the good news is lumber is dropping so that the cost of our styles for all 9 in 2020 was roughly $100 each. Looks like going forward on there, it's going to be closer to $80 because lumber has fallen by almost 20%. So that is our fixed cost on it. And I don't know, we really don't have anything laid out. We'll listen to Jeff where he comes up with a couple of suggestions where we need some for 2021 because we've got a good group and we've pretty much got it down to a science on installation. Don't you agree, Mark? Did Mark fall asleep? Where is he?
no, he's looking at us, but he's got a bad connection.
Oh,
So he's got a slow answer sometimes.
I'm here.
So he didn't hear you, so you might as well go on.
I'm here.
I was going to say, so, but our styles in the, I don't know how many people are on the Trout Unlimited community newsletter that comes out every day, but we got a great shout out from a gentleman up there in the Driftless area saying, hey, whenever you go through one of these styles, thank the Lee Wolf Trout Unlimited group because they are the ones installing them and they are supreme. I mean, so it is just beautiful. That was on the, I believe, Jerry, I sent it to you October 8th, right? Correct?
Yes. Yeah, I never could find it to open it, but you did.
Oh, it did? Really? I did print it out. So I was going to say, I don't know if we can get it in the newsletter. I would like to do it.
Okay, I'll go back and look for it.
Okay.
I didn't know that you did that link. Okay, great. Is that all, Jerry? That's
Yeah.
Good. Okay, Bob Majewski, want to tell us a little bit about Trout Unlimited? Trout in the Classroom. One of those.
I already talked about it. So, I mean, we've got our permits in place. They were sent back to me this week. I've reached out via email to the 3 teachers just to alert them to start getting their classroom ready for the eggs, which we assume will be coming in sometime the 2nd or 3rd week of November. That's typically when they come in and we deliver them. So hopefully they'll be getting things ready. I've reached out to Marvin to try to procure the food from him, because if we have to buy the food ourselves, we have to buy way more than we ever need because there's minimum quantity. So I sent that note to Marvin today. So we'll see how that comes back in terms of fish food.
Yeah, Marvin Strach is the head of the TU, or Trout in the Classroom for the whole state. So that's why we get get the food from him.
But the difference there is normally with Marv or us, and the state is providing the trout eggs for the other classroom. We're the anomaly there because we're getting the brook trout eggs sent in from Utah. So we're not really getting our supply from the state of Illinois. So I know last year there was a little pushback about giving us the food, saying they're not the supplier of the egg. So anyway, we're working on that. Worst case is the trout farm can sell us the food. So we're not going to go without food, but if we have to buy it from them, we're going to be buying like 50 pounds when we only need 10. So
How long does it keep, Bob?
what's that?
How long would it keep? I mean, if we bought,
The fish farm in the past has recommended you only use it for that season. It can start like going rancid and things like that, which could eventually maybe get the fish sick. So at the end of our cycle, they typically advise us to toss it.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
new.
yeah, they told me that last year when I was asking about it, because I said if I have to buy 50 pounds, can I save it? And their advice was, well, you shouldn't. So
So that's good. Good to know.
there's a lot of things like oils and stuff in there that can go rancid and, you know, not be good for the fish in the end.
I can understand that.
So
All right. All right,
that's,
good.
that's really it.
Who was that?
I said that's really about all on the
Okay.
update for that right now.
Okay, good. Don't have anything from Scott. Anybody else have any reports of something for me? Anything going on that way? Okay. The one thing I want to reiterate is I wrote in the newsletter, we're not going to be able to have a Christmas party because we're too unsure about a COVID problem. And even though it looks like it's getting better now, we don't know how it'll be in December, and we surely didn't know in September when we had to make the decision. So we decided not to do that. And I wish I had Mark or somebody on today, or Jonathan Culley, but neither one. I come up with the idea of what we need. We have to, in place of a Christmas party, we ought to at least open up a donation page on our website, because we always made Christmas, you know, a time when we were fundraising. If we have a donation page and you want to make an end of the year contribution for taxes, we would make that available. And I'm sure Mark and Jonathan can make that happen. So in the near future, I hope that that will appear. If you do want to make a donation before the end of the year, I think we'll have it on certainly by December. So keep us in mind. And we always have to make some money one way or the other. And that was kind of the money that kept us running. I do have, come springtime, I'm sure we can have another rod raffle. I have a gentleman who's volunteered to build a rod for us for the materials that we pay for it. So that was nice of him. And fundraising group, mostly of which the guys are not here tonight. I'm going to get together with them shortly, and we'll start out another fundraising campaign on items that we had donated, and we'll do that within probably November. We'll get that done, have that out there. So it'll be another online auction type thing. And well, let's see what else. Donation fundraising. That's it. Christmas
Got a
party.
quick question. Since we're
Pardon?
not having a Christmas party, are we gonna have a Zoom meeting in December?
We are. We will have it, and we have
Or
Ann
when's
Miller. Ann
when's it
Miller,
gonna
the
be?
anthropologist, is lined up for December.
When's it going to be?
The 16th, John. I'm glad you asked that. That's a good question. That's on December 16th, so it'll again be the third Thursday, and it's going to be Ann Miller to have
Okay, I
that.
wasn't sure where Christmas fell in there. Wow, that was gonna screw things up.
Well, we can't help what we
No, we
can't help.
can't. but-
Yeah.
Okay,
So we're still going to do it, and hopefully we'll do it a little bit before Christmas, and I'll be reminding you about it, that we really are going to have a Christmas meeting, a December TU meeting before Christmas. That's what I'm trying to say.
Jerry, that's great. What's and I'm relatively new to this, but you know, for the Christmas party, if it was in person and we were doing something to raise money, what's an appropriate goal? What would we strive to raise?
Well, that's a good question. We normally would raise from 2,000 to 3,000, between 2,000 and 3,000 a year at Christmas time at the party. After expenses from the meals and everything, if
Sure.
everything went well. So that was our average pretty much every year. And then we have our rod raffle in the spring, and we equal or 12, about 25,000 or 2,500 rather for the rod raffle each time. But we've been doing some of these raffles that we've had throughout the year because of donations people have given us, or people have left us when their husband died. And so we've had a lot of stuff to do this year, and it worked out well.
Okay.
We ultimately talked about, well, maybe we can have a banquet in March, but I'm not going to promise that to anybody yet, because let's see what COVID does, you know, and I'd still love to have it. And that would be a nice party to do, and possible this year still to do it at the McGraw Club. Even though Frank Transu has passed away, his wife Brooke, I talked to her, and she said she would still be willing to sponsor us there, so we can still have it one more year at Max McGraw if we want to do it in the springtime, which is a great place. You know, it could be happening. Any other questions? All right, I want to talk.
Food for thought.
Yeah,
If we can't get Max McGraw, what about a Sunday afternoon brunch instead? Someplace.
that's an interesting thought. We can do it any way we want as a banquet, but I'd like to, Sunday brunch type of thing. That's a nice idea. We'll take that under advisement, John.
Because we do that for Nifty and we have a nice afternoon.
Okay, we could do it.
If
We'll
we
see-
lose
we'll
Max,
see what
if we can't get,
See what the board says when we get to them. I want to get to Bob Becker before we get to Jeff. And Bob, why don't you, I put it in the newsletter, but go ahead and explain, Bob, a little bit about the idea from your chapter out there in Colorado.
Yeah, the West Denver TU chapter here that I joined. There's a lot of interest in the Driftless area. And in fact, the guy that writes their Anglers All magazine just did an article about the Driftless this past month or this quarter. But someone brought up the idea, why don't we do like a home and away type visit where we would come out from here and fish the Driftless. And the idea was that we'd pair up with you guys. You know, if we say we got 8 people, if we could get 8 volunteers from LWTU to come and kind of guide them around, we'd use probably Viroqua as a center point or at a meeting point. And then even I just thought too that if we could plan doing a style installation or two that time that they're out there, that would be fantastic. So, and then we would turn it around for anybody, maybe try and plan something to come out this way into Colorado. And, you know, if you can get 5 or 6 or 7 people that want to come out, we can then take you around to the local waters around here. So just thought we'd gauge that and see if you guys had any interest in doing something like that or any other suggestions.
I think
Sounds like
that's a great
wonderful
idea.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jonathan Cully already said he's interested to me.
Okay.
He couldn't be on tonight, so he said he'd love to do it if he can work it out for time. I'll be there.
Yeah.
And you know, with the connection at Keystone that the son has, we might be able to get a large condominium rented
Yeah.
in work out of that, because if, you're at Keystone, you're up there already and the altitude, and it's pretty central to other places to go. But
Yeah, and there's a lot of water that's not at real high elevation too. I
And
mean,
that's what we should
Clear
think about.
Creek, you've got the Blue, the South Platte. I mean, we all don't have to go to the same place. We can kind of spread it out, but yeah, there's plenty of water. So if we got up to the Arkansas where you and I went, Jerry, that might be pretty high up for people because that's at 10,000 feet.
Yeah, that's,
So,
for
but
first timers, that's rough.
yeah. Yeah, but as far as us coming out there, I think that'd be a great idea. We could maybe stay at that lodge place that's in Westby there, that place. That's
The
off
mill.
path
Yeah.
there. And
Yes.
then, yeah, if we could maybe plan doing a style or two, kind of give them an idea of the work we've been doing and go from there. So just a thought, we thought we'd gauge your interest and see how many would be interested in doing that.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Well,
Yeah,
let's,
let's put it
go ahead.
together.
Go ahead. Go ahead, somebody.
That was Mark.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm breaking up. Sorry. Yeah, I just said let's do that. Let's put that together.
Okay. I'll work
Yeah.
with Jerry. We'll start looking around and I'll try and gauge how many interests we can get for people that want to make the trip. So,
Yeah, I
I
got
wanna
a
get
place
to-
to stay. I got family out there.
yeah, I don't want to get too many people because
Denver and in
we have
Keystone.
20 people, it's
I
going
got
to be
places to
out of
stay. I
control.
might even
But
be able to get a couple
put a
of.
limit at maybe 10 or 8 and go from
Yeah,
there.
eight sounds like a
And we're-
good number. 8 to
Yeah.
10, it's manageable that way.
And there's plenty of water to spread out. So
What time frame are you thinking about?
I was thinking for these guys, either mid-May or early June, before the real hot weather starts coming and the yearly monsoon that we get now lately.
Spring caddis would be really good.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to do it the first weekend of opening weekend, but maybe the week after that.
that's a good
As we
time.
know, usually
When's
the
Mother's
last week
Day?
of April, it snows.
When's Mother's Day?
Yeah, the Mother's Day hatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
But out there, if we came out there, Bob, what we're thinking July, after July 4th sometime, after the 4th.
Yeah,
probably, right?
or even late June.
Yep, after runoff. Okay.
Right.
We'll work
Bob. Hey, Bob, I'd be
Well,
glad to, as long as they don't ask me about flies and things like that, I'd be glad to, if they're really interested in the driftless, I would be glad to just show them a lot of video pictures, kind of stuff of the streams out here that they'd be fishing and the topography. And
They actually asked me to put together a program for one of their meetings coming up. Would you be interested in maybe
Sure.
presenting something to them?
sure, with Zoom, it makes it so easy to do.
Yeah,
it,
and that's
I think.
how we would do it. So let me talk to the president, Ed Colmus, and I'll keep in touch with you. And
Yeah, we
maybe
can-
we can do that. We'll do a Zoom meeting and you can, put together all the stuff you guys have.
But we can really focus it on the water, the projects we're doing and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
what they'd be fishing and the landscape and stuff like that. So
Right, and even if you have a program that you can send me, I can present it to them if they want to do a live meeting. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to have I'll have to have my son help me put something together. But okay, I'll keep in touch. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, we've got a lot to send you.
fun.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay,
And that-
sounds great.
We'll get it worked out for next summer. And I think that'll work out. We get enough people interested. So
Yeah.
we need to, first of all, get some dates, Bob. And then we can ask people, to save the time. And that's
Okay.
that's what it's gonna take.
Oh,
So,
are you guys familiar with a short movie called Heart of the Driftless?
No, I'm not.
I think I've seen that before.
Yeah, we've seen it. You've seen it, Bob. We've
Oh,
done
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the video.
It's on YouTube.
The video, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's quite good. Yeah, that would work. That'd be helpful. Basically, that'd be really helpful. All right. I'd like to also acknowledge tonight, Scott Lammers. Scott, are you there? Say hello. I know you are. Now we lost him.
No, he's
Zooming
there.
it in.
Hey,
What'd you say, Jerry?
Scott has generously volunteered to become our new secretary. So
Oh.
I really appreciate that. I finally have a new one to work with, and that's great. Thank you, Meg, for your service. Ralph Lesser has volunteered, and he's going to be our outing coordinator. And Gordon, thank you very much for a lot of years of work. I mean, a lot of years.
It was a lot of fun.
Well, we enjoyed having you do it, and we enjoyed a lot of good outings with you.
Thank
So,
you.
here's to you. And we appreciate what you did do. The other thing I've got to talk to people about that are on the fly tying list is I'm going to surgery the 4th of November for my shoulder, and hopefully I'll be back in time to do the fly tying in January when I can move. But I'm going to send out some things to the fly tyers and suggestions on how we may run the show this year. So hang in there for that. That's coming to all the fly tyers. We won't have to discuss too much tonight about
Hey,
it.
Jerry,
Yes.
Nifty has gone, we've gone to Zoom and it's working quite well over at Nifty.
Yeah.
We have gone to Zoom tying and it has worked quite well over at Nifty.
Okay, and we did it last year on the Zoom too, but I'm going to propose maybe a different way when maybe everybody has a kit with all the materials for each time. You have to buy the kit for the whole year. And we would set it up and send it out to people. I could do that in the time I'm at least crippled up here with one hand. I could do it left-handed, and or talk to the people at Whitetail and see if they'll build us kits. So it's coming up. I will let you guys know. Let you see what you guys think. So I don't want to take up too much meeting time or Jeff's time discussing
I can
that.
give you a hand with that, Jerry.
What's that? I didn't.
I said, I can
You
give you a
said-
hand with that if you need any help.
Okay, I appreciate that. All right, well, Jeff is here and
Hey, Jerry,
Hey. yes,
real quick, that just reminded me, and you and I need to get together. And remember on November 10th, we were going to do a little presentation to Huntley High.
yep, I'll be there.
So maybe you and I need to get together, and if anyone else is interested in doing that with us. But that's coming up in just 2 or 3 weeks now here. So,
Yeah, it'll be 3 weeks from now. Yeah.
so just wanted to remind you of that.
What are you
Okay.
doing out there, Bob?
The teacher at Huntley High School wanted us to maybe come and talk to her kind of like ecology club, and she was going to invite their fishing club, and just wanted us to talk a little bit about, what is entailed with trout fishing. Why is the clear water important? What is insect hatch like? Why are all those things really important? So I don't think it's going to be an extensive thing, but just maybe half hour, 45-minute presentation to those groups she asked to do. So
And
anyway,
thanks for the reminder. They were doing a presentation with 8th graders up at on the Milwaukee yesterday. I don't know if you saw that or not, Peter. It was up at college, but they had tables set up, and I found a nice sheet that I'm going to try to wrangle from Riverside's Riverview, I guess it is, that they gave me, that they had. for the
I
kids.
saw him there. I spoke to the teacher for a couple of minutes, one of
Yeah.
the teachers.
Yep. they were
anyway,
there.
Jerry, let me know when you have time. We can get together on that.
Anytime this,
Before the
Anytime.
4th.
except for Tuesday.
Okay.
Except
No,
for
I,
Tuesday.
I would just interject. If you need help with that, that's not all that far from where I live. I'd be happy to do whatever I can to help.
Okay, well, thank you. So,
Who was that?
That was Mark
Mark
Mark? Who was that?
Walsworth.
Ellsworth.
Oh, okay, great, Mark.
Okay, Jerry, just let me know. I'd be happy. I can make time. I can drive up. I can do whatever I need to do to support you guys on that, but that'd be great for me.
Okay, that'd be great. That'd be great. Sounds good. All right, we'll get that, and I will get back to you, Mark. Jeff Hastings is the head of the TUDARE division of TU, and also a good friend of ours. And every year we kind of pick on Jeff and say, come tell us what you've gotten done. And what are you going to do? So Jeff, without further ado, let it rip.
All right. Thanks, Jerry. Yeah. But this COVID thing sure is going on longer than we anticipated, isn't it? We had a bus tour all lined up for this fall. We're going to actually be down in the Dane County, Greene County area, and hopefully that would have been a little more convenient for a number of you coming from Chicago if you wanted to come out and join us for the day on the bus tour. But all the agency folks had to cancel. They weren't allowed to ride the bus, and it just got more and more complicated. So we had to cancel the fall bus tour. We're looking at the symposium in first part of February now, which it seemed like a long time ago, a long time away. But we're already, a lot of the agencies are already saying that they're not going to be able to go to any meetings until sometime maybe March or after. So I think our symposium is at least having it at the Radisson is in jeopardy. If we are unable to pull that off, I think maybe what we'll do is we'll try to do some kind of, these virtual things get kind of old a little bit, but the advantage of that is you could go to the symposium this year without paying anything and do it from your living room chair. So I think we may look at doing the symposium this year virtual, recording it so that if you couldn't make it that day, you could come back in and watch some of the presentations and pick and choose. So it's got its advantages. I really like having the symposium because it's a great opportunity to get that mix between the states and that interaction, which I think is so important. So, but it's kind of out of our control. So I've got a PowerPoint presentation tonight that I wanted to show you. Let's see. Let's make sure we can. Okay, can you see that, Jerry?
No,
you
you
need
gotta make him
to,
moderator.
you need to share your screen at the bottom.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I did that before.
And well, you need to click it a couple times.
Okay, all right.
Yep, Scott's got a control on that
Okay.
tonight. He's running it.
At the bottom, click share your screen. There you go.
There you
we go. Good.
Okay, so you can see the PowerPoint, okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. It's getting more complicated because I've got 3 screens up here, so I probably should shut some of those down. It makes it a little more complicated. So I'm not going to go into too much history. I mean, I'm starting to see some familiar faces now when we get together. So, but I do understand we have some new people to the Driftless on the call tonight. So I'll try to do a little history too as we go along. But so the Driftless area is the area there circled in red. 27,000 square miles, 6,000 miles of cold water stream. It's kind of just made sense why Trout Unlimited is really focusing in this priority area here. We now have 4 staff on board. I've been with the project for almost since the start about 15 years ago. We've got Paul Cron, who does our stream restoration work, works with the counties to get projects going. Our newest position is Dustin Hoffman, not the actor, but he's a young guy. We hired him from the Fish and Wildlife Service. He's working, targeting this southeast Minnesota of the project area. We've got Lessard Sam's dollars over there, state designated sales tax dollars, over $20 million so far. And so John Mancheski, the Minnesota executive director, and myself, it was just too much of a program to handle by ourselves. So we hired this full-time person to help us coordinate. And then Duke Walter, which a lot of you know, has been doing some outreach for us. And now it's really pretty much focused on the removing dams on the Kinnickinnick.
That's
All
about right.
right. Let's see.
Moving dam, we're moving dams. Duke Walter.
There we go. So it's been a year of doing a lot of our educational things. I've done a lot of YouTube videos to try to bring a little bit more science and showing folks what we're doing. So I got a couple videos I can show you that we're putting up on a YouTube channel that we started. Hopefully we can populate this over time with a number of different things, both science and educational and our restoration projects. I don't know about you, but it seems like I use YouTube all the time. If I'm going to put a starter in a 92 Saturn, I'll be darned if somebody hasn't videoed how to do it. So YouTube is getting pretty easy to work with. Obviously, it's nice because you can look at the videos and so forth at your leisure. And so we're going to try to, given this year of not being able to go out and do a lot of presentations, we're going to try and create some video for this YouTube channel. This is a little, we've got a couple drones now. We've got a couple drones and we've got a couple of time-lapse cameras. So you guys fish this area, you may recognize this stream. This is Breester Creek before the project started. This is a project that the DNR Fish Habitat crew put together. Mark, if you're not familiar with the Driftless, I can just tell you that whenever you see a bank like this that's 6 to 8 feet high, probably the top 6 feet is sediment that is washed in from the ridges back in the early 1900s to 1930s. So what we're dealing with is these vertical banks, and you can see up here they're sloughing, and we're finding that as much as 80% of the sediment that's getting into our streams is coming directly right off these banks. So every time we do a project, one of the first things we do is stabilize these banks. But this is taken before the project. I've got another little video to follow up to show you what this, following the same path I am with this drone, to kind of show you what the work was done. Actually, if you look at the stream on this one, sometimes these streams are really quite wide, too wide. So we do have a tendency to kind of pinch them up a little bit to flush them out. But you can see there's pretty good rubble in this stream at this width right here. So I don't think they did much pinching up of this stream. Remember this island here, it'll be in the next video. An interesting thing part about this is Paul Cron, the stream restoration specialist, and myself, prior to working for Trout Unlimited, we worked in Vernon County for 20 some years. And this stream was part of a project we did back in the 90s. Back then, when we did stream work, we didn't do comprehensive projects like this from the bottom all the way up. We just would do corners. So this corner here was one of the corners that we stabilized back in probably around 1990. And so they really didn't do much with this. I think there even were a few lunker structures in this project, but and the bank's still stable. And so in this next video, you'll see that they really didn't do anything to change that bank. Okay, let's see. Let's go to the next area. There we go. I love it when technology works. So this is the same project, almost the same track. This first structure you see right here. Jerry, is my pointer showing up on the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So this first structure you see here is what we refer to as a Vortex Weir. And as you can see, it's rock, it's built up a little bit, and it's pointed upstream. And you would think that the water would come down here, hit this point rock, and flow down here and hit the bank. but it's just the opposite. It comes down here, it'll go over at a right angle, and then it kind of creates this plunge pool here. And so, you know, besides lunkers, the other way to provide overhead cover is by creating holes of, you know, 24 to 36 inches deep. And so this is called a Vortex Weir. The other thing I'll point out real quickly in here is that since, for about 15 years now, we've been incorporating a lot of non-game habitat, you know, for frogs, snakes, birds. This is a prairie planting, but you can see right here, they actually carved out a little bit of a shallow wetland area here that the amphibians would use, shorebirds would use, and create little pockets like this. You know, historically, that just wouldn't have been there, but we've created a non-game habitat guide. And I would say that the DNR fish habitat crew does as good as anybody for incorporating non-game habitat into their projects. So, and you can see they leave this, the edge is kind of rough. They create a lot of surface areas for birds to feed off of snakes to bask off. They incorporate a lot of wood. Going up now, and here's that island that we saw in the first video. And they chose to block off the bottom end here, so you can create the slack water in here for non-game species, and let the main flow go over here to the other side. And then again, you can see this looks kind of unusual now. I'm sure sediment has built up on this corner, but even back in the 90s, we were not getting this kind of a slope as much as we are today. You know, we call this like a 3 to 1, 3 feet over to 1 foot up. Back then, we did a lot of 2 to 1 kind of slopes. So we have found that the best way to resist these high flow events is to slope those banks back as much as possible. I'm amazed at this drone is how steady it is. I don't think I could on a tripod, I definitely couldn't walk this stream and be that steady. I came back and I looked at this. I thought, why is that water so murky? But if you look up above, you'll actually see the DNR habitat crews working right up above me when I was doing this video. They weren't done with the project yet. So normally this is a really crystal clear stream. In fact, you know, a little bit of silt in this like this takes the edge off of the fish a little bit, but normally it's a really clear stream. Another tool that we've got, and we're going to hope to populate our YouTube channel this year, is a time-lapse camera. So we still use lunkers, but I would say that we're using less lunkers than what we used to. But we do incorporate a lot of wood into our projects. And so this is a time-lapse camera of I think this was Mike Leonard incorporating this tree. Now this project was partially funded by the Natural Resources Conservation Service. So you'll see Paul jump in here pretty soon to make sure that the elevation of the rock and the rock size and all that is in place to meet the Natural Resources Conservation Service standards. Normally, if this was just a trout stamp project, you know, these operators would be doing the project and nobody would be out there, you know, measuring height and all that kind of stuff. You can see that the rock is pretty much at the toe of the project. We don't go all the way to the top of the banks like we used to with rock. And then it's also keyed into the floor of the bed here. So that's Paul Cron out there just making sure that he can sign off and say that it met the Natural Resources Conservation specifications. Really not a lot of difference really between what the DNR would be doing on their own and what they would be doing if they were using NRCS funds. But by using these NRCS funds, and when I say NRCS funds, we'll talk about that a little bit, but it's the Natural Resource Conservation Service dollars that we've been bringing into the area. Should have been using this slide, I guess, when I talked about that's Dustin Hoffman up there in the upper right, and in the area that he's covering down there in southeast Minnesota. We just were approved for our 13th round of funding over in Minnesota, this designated sales tax, and it's been over $20 million so far we've been able to utilize just for stream restoration. We are using some of the NRCS money that we brought into the state and to help stretch out our funds, just like we do in Wisconsin with our trout stamp dollars. And we continue to try to engage the chapters over there to get them involved with the projects. It can get pretty easy if you've got endless money to just go in there and just do it all 100% with private contractors, but that's not the intent of the program or where we're wanting to head. But these are pretty comprehensive projects. These are pretty large scale. The last project we completed was about 2 miles, $850,000. We had a contract with NRCS, I shouldn't say NRCS, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, for $450,000 for the 2 mile segment. That's the largest contract that I've ever worked with. But we've got a drone now too. So we're using private consultants out there. It costs us about $50,000 a mile to have a private consultant design these projects and put them in. You can see you put in some eddies and large boulders and things like that. He's Mike Majeski with Emmons and Oliver. He's good at putting some non-game stuff in here. So he's got this really neat backwater area, some boulder clusters here, some riffles, kind of concentrated riffles, kind of almost a Vortex Weir. But these are, like I said, are pretty big projects. This is on Weisel Creek over in southeast Minnesota. I don't know if you guys get over to fish those projects over there or not, but this year we finished a 2 mile segment on West Indian, a mile on another mile on Weisel, and then another mile on Rush Creek in southeast Minnesota. But the drone footage is really good. We're trying to do a better job of getting out there and doing the before, so you can really see what the changes are. Eventually, we'll get good enough where we'll be able to fly the same. The drone is capable of flying the same segment that you did before. It has GPS, it'll do it. It would be really neat then to put side by side before and after and fly the same section of stream so you can see the improvements. One thing you may not know is that the Driftless Area is also part of a national initiative called the National Fish Habitat Action Partnership. And these partnerships pretty much cover almost all of the United States. The Driftless happens to be actually one of the smallest partnerships in the whole program. There are some up in Alaska that are a little smaller, but we get about $250,000 a year that we can put on projects that are for native fish. So we're looking for brook trout projects. Now they just went through a configuration of the partnership. It used to be under the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and now it's got its own board, national board. And I'm not quite sure how they're going to divvy up the money that we've gotten in the past, but we have 3 projects in there for 2022 are brook trout, and hopefully they'll get funded. So when we talk about funding for partnerships, projects, I mean, it's just all over the board. This happens to be a picture of one of the NOR chapters projects. There's Lee Wolf right there on the sign. But you can see that every time they put these projects together, it's multiple sources. So it's state, federal, foundations, some of the chapters and field offices get pretty creative on where all the funding comes to put it together. But for the most part, I would say in Wisconsin and now in Iowa, we use Farm Bill dollars to put these projects together. It's called EQIP is the acronym for it, Environmental Quality Incentives Program. These Farm Bill dollars are conservation dollars that go through private landowners, through agricultural producers. And these dollars can be used for stream work like this. They can be used for dams, waterways, all those different kinds of conservation practices. So here in the Driftless, these dollars are very competitive. The Driftless probably spends more Farm Bill dollars than anywhere else in the whole state. I was on a state conservation call this morning, with NRCS. I'm on the Natural Resources Conservation Service State Technical Committee. And they said that Wisconsin was 9th in the nation last year for using Farm Bill dollars. So because it's so competitive, a couple of years ago, I started applying for targeted Farm Bill dollars for the Driftless. I think it was about 5 years ago, I applied for this so-called regional conservation partnership program. And I got $3 million for Wisconsin and Minnesota. And we spent all of our money in the first year. And it was so successful. I the old saying, go big or go home. I applied for $9 million for the entire Driftless, figuring that someone from National would give me a call saying, hey, Hastings, would you take 3 or 4, or 2? But I'll be darned if they didn't give me the whole $9.2 million. So we've had for the past 3 years, we've had access to this $9.2 million to do stream restoration work in the Driftless. I'm working on an annual report that is due actually the end of next week. I'm getting all the information from the 4 states, but I will put together an annual report and make sure your chapter gets a copy of this. But through this program alone, we have done over 100 projects, spent probably over $6 million just on stream restoration. And that's just the Farm Bill dollars. We always partner it with, Lee Wolf chapter dollars, Trout stamp dollars. We're trying to, really pick up the pace and do the amount of work we can do. And the Farm Bill has been a great way to do that. Now, we work with our local field offices because we're working with farmers in each of the counties. Actually, this is me on the left here. I used to work for Vernon County for 25 years as a conservationist. I've got my act together a little bit more since then, but I pick fun at the counties because I was one for over 20 some years doing this kind of conservation work. So the way the program works is we find an easement where we want to do work. We've got now 1,400 miles of public access in the Driftless. We approach that farmer and see if they will allow us to run the money through them. The money's got to go to the farmer, and then the farmer does what they call a reassignment of payment, and then money goes back to us to pay for the project. And then we cover what would be the farmer's share. The Farm Bill dollars typically pay for 50 to 75% of the cost of the project. So what we're trying to do then is to pick up what would be the farmer's share of doing the project. So the farmer gets a project at no cost. We get a project that's 75% funded, right off the bat. So it just really works out really well. And so we're, part of our job is really as a kind of a catalyst. Paul does do some projects. He's done Citron Creek container over over in the Kickapoo. He's done some projects, and he does typically 1 or 2 projects a year. But really, what we're trying to do is build the capacity of the 42 counties that work in the Driftless, of the staff, to show them how to put these projects together. So whenever we're doing a project, I invite the counties out to come out and see how it's put together. Because if there's anything I've learned is that county staff do not promote projects that they're not familiar with. So we show them how these projects go together. We also do the same thing. We've had contractor workshops where, they show a contractor how to put these structures in, because it's tough for them to bid on a project if they don't know how much time it's going to take to install the practices. So that's another place where I'm really hoping that the YouTube videos will shine, and we'll have those available to show contractors how these practices get installed. Now, 25 years ago, what we did, we could almost always just walk away from it and say, that project's going to be there for 25 to 50 years. I mean, and then, some projects like you saw earlier on Breester Creek, those projects still are holding up. But we've been getting some storm events here that have been a real challenge for some of our projects. And not only the stream projects, but a lot of the other natural resources Farm Bill projects. This is Jersey Valley. You may know this is just outside of Westby. This is one of the large flood control structures. Actually, this is one of the structures that I maintained and supervised when I was with the county. but they lost 8 of these large flood control structures in one event. That's never happened anywhere national for NRCS to lose 8 structures in one event. So we are seeing some catastrophic flooding events, and nobody designs for these kind of projects. So we're having real challenges. This is probably another stream that you're probably familiar with if you're fishing Vernon County. Part of the timber coulee system, spring coulee. This is from the bridge looking up. I'm always amazed when I start talking, you know, somebody, I'll say we're going to work on this stream or something, and a chapter from Chicago or Janesville will say, well, yeah, what are you going to do with that corner up there when you get up to such and such? And I'm amazed at how well they know some of these Vernon County streams. But this is one of those streams where we had problems. So this is that same stream, almost probably where that guy was fishing. And there, you know, these valleys are narrow, they're high gradient stream, very steep, and they carry a bed load with this kind of a volume. So we're having troubles with these upper reaches, and we're really trying to figure out what we're going to do with them. It's too good of water to just abandon. The streams get wide and braided. This is actually, if you were to turn around and shoot downstream, this is that same spring coulee. Someone told me the story was he was out looking in the middle of the night, you know, kind of seeing what the flooding was happening, and the approach was washed out. Obviously, he didn't know it was washed out, and but I'll bet that was a pretty exciting couple seconds there while that nose was going down. So. Now here's Breester Creek. This is just up from where I showed you that video earlier, and you get to a certain part of the watersheds where you can see it is a pretty good sized floodplain off to the left here, and I think our water has a chance to dissipate. You can see that this is just after that flooding event. You can see how the grass is all laid down, but what you know we often talk about in our stream projects of reconnecting the stream to the floodplain, and you can see that the water came up. And then the water came back down, and our project looks just like it did, you know, before the storm event. You'll actually, on some of these pictures, some pictures, you can actually see there's sediment in this grass because the water gets a chance to spread out and slow down. It starts to actually drop sediment. This is below Vroqua, Reeds Creek. I've done a project, Paul's done a project. Dan, our technician's done a project, DNR's done a project. And I think we've all beaten our head on this stream trying to get a project on it. So what we're going to do, I think now, and some of these upper reaches, the thinking is that try to, first off, really identify where these projects are, not put any man-made type structures in, you know, no lunkers, try to be cost effective, try to get that channel back in the stream, use existing materials, and not be quite so comprehensive, you know, knowing that the next big storm event, you know, could take it out. So, you know, I often get question is, well, what's happening with our fishery after a big event like this? Both Minnesota and Wisconsin has done some studies, and they find that the larger fish are able to, you know, go down in that, you know, next to the bottom of the stream or get behind some trees and so forth. And they can seem to ride it out. It's that young of the year, that age class, you know, that first year age class that is unable to take those flooding events. So we'll miss an age class, you know, on a big event like that. We'll take it out. But the older fish seem to recover quite well. The other thing we're trying to do is try to really kind of focus some of our work where there's watershed work happening up above. After that big storm event that took out those large 8 flood control structures, NRCS will be coming back in a year here or so, and they're just looking at all the alternatives. Do they put the flood control structures back? Do they double the amount of flood control structures and go with smaller ones? Do they do more perennial vegetation? But they're looking at what to do in that watershed to try to slow this water down. And so, you know, we may just wait before we get too far up into those watersheds. Jerry came across a project that the DNR went right back up into Bohemian on, and you know, and try to put it back. And you know, in fact, I think one of the sites that Jerry sent me a picture on that he really thought was really neat, you know, was totally blown out in that next event. So I really don't think we can go back, you know, bring big rock. And the rock, I don't think we have rock big enough to stay, you know, to sustain some of these flooding events. So I think we need to slope the banks as much as we can, get that stream back into a concentrated flow. We're actually looking at some new design standards. NRCS isn't going to pay us to go back up there and do the same thing with rock. So, you know, I've always been one, you know, pretty much said that, you know, trees really don't have much place, you know, in the driftless, especially these shallow rooted trees. So typically we don't take out the large hardwoods, but we do take out the shallow rooted box elders, so that we can get grasses down and get some stability to the banks. We just came up with a new design that, and I sent out an email today to some of the DNR crews. I'm thinking like maybe some of our brook trout water or high gradient brook trout water, you know, we may want to try some tree plantings, you know, go in there with the kind of trees that we want to plant, hardwood trees, go in there with large trees, you know, in 2-gallon pail type stuff, you know, something that's solid, protected from deer. And so NRCS has worked with me to come up with a project, a practice that we can maybe try to work on these upper reaches. The other thing that NRCS was not too keen on us before was actually going in and getting that box elder trees out of there and not putting back the woody vegetation. But this practice will allow us to go in there, take out those shallow rooted trees, do the sloping of the banks, and then plant the new desirable trees. So this is something we're going to try, you know, with a shade in our brook trout streams. You know, it may be a win-win for a couple ways. So I'm not sure if you've heard with the strategic goals that the Trout Unlimited is working at, but they're trying to identify priority areas in each of the areas that each of the states that have trout water. And Wisconsin is just starting the process. My understanding is that these areas are quite large, so the whole driftless area will probably be a targeted area for our priority areas. TU is doing this as a national initiative. They feel like if they can identify priority areas, then it'll be easier for them to, when we start going after grants and things like that, to show that we've got priority areas that we're working on and not a scattered fashion. This happens to be a priority areas that the DNR did for the driftless, targeting brook trout areas. And not just brook trout areas where they're currently brook trout, but brook trout areas where they feel with climate change, with the different predictions that these reserves will be there, you know, 25, 40 years, even with the anticipated changes in climate. So it makes sense that, you know, given that there are still a lot of areas that still hold brook trout, that we spend special attention to the areas that we think will be here 25 and 50 years from now. Early on in the project, 15 years ago, we tried to identify both brook trout, brown trout waters in the driftless area and came up with this map. So we'll be using maps like this and maps like this, which will, you know, a series of maps to determine where the priority areas will be for Wisconsin. This happens to be a map of the 25% of the areas which are protected. These are watersheds that are suitable trout waters. So we'll probably get a wild and resilient areas. So what we'll see is probably when you start overlaying these maps, the priority areas where we should be really focusing our work on, you know, will come to light. As you can see, the driftless in all these maps is always coming up. So it'll likely be a priority area with a new strategic plan. this is just an idea to show you that they did a couple pilot projects, one in New Hampshire, one in Washington, the state of Washington. And these areas in blue are their priority areas. So you can see they're still quite large areas. Just want to bounce around and talk about a couple other things. We always have different, whether it's CAFOs or non-point source pollution. We've always got things that are always on the horizon, always things that were challenging us, with our projects and our project areas. And one thing that we've worked with our science committee and a private consultant is to come up with a phone app that will allow and you can, in your chapter, anybody from your chapter that comes up and fishes the driftless and wants to participate in this, you can download this phone app for a few dollars. And I think Jerry, you can tell me I'm wrong, but I think your chapter maybe has some of these. Maybe you can chime in whether they have some of these kits. But you can do some testing. This year alone, over 500 samples were taken in the driftless from volunteers. So the program is starting to get some legs. It's been tough to do trainings with COVID and so forth, but we've got a website now that will kind of show you how to do it. And then we've hired Kent Johnson from Captawish to help do some trainings to get the chapters up to speed. That's the website down below. But you can that's where we're populating the samples and the training videos are and things like that. I think I've only just got a couple more slides. I wanted to talk about a little bit kind of a new ways we're trying to accelerate stream restoration in the driftless, especially Wisconsin right now. A lot of the municipalities have been targeted with new what's the word I'm looking, new goals for phosphorus reduction. And for some of these municipalities to upgrade their treatment plants to meet these new goals is millions and millions of dollars. For example, I think Sparta was looking at $12 or $15 million to upgrade their treatment plant. But one way they can be a more cost-effective way to meet these state goals is to tie phosphorus up above their treatment plants in the watershed. And they could do it with the nutrient management plans with the farmers. But one way they can do it is, since there's such a high sediment load to the stream and phosphorus is tied to that sediment, if they do stream bank projects and tie that sediment up into the bank so it doesn't erode, they can meet their phosphorus goals. So to give you just an example, I can't remember what Bob said that Sparta did, but I was guessing it was like $12 million or $13 million that it was going to cost to upgrade their treatment plant. But for less than $2 million, they were able to work with a number of farmers and do stream bank projects and meet their goals. So this winter, Paul and I are going to we've got lists now from the state on which municipalities are under regulation to either upgrade their treatment plant or reduce their phosphorus goals somehow through this nutrient trading. So what we're going to do is try to make them these treatment plants aware of this program as an option. And better yet, what we'll do is we'll look to see where we have easements above those projects, those municipalities, and see if we can't work with them on where we have easements. The other thing we can even help the municipalities even reduce their costs further is if we could find some easements, which is not uncommon, and like Bob McKill did here, where we've got easements, we can work with the farmers to utilize those farm bill dollars that we brought in, that will pay for 50 to 75% of the project. And then the municipality then would pay the landowner's share. So this is another way to stretch out those farm bill dollars and get projects on the ground. Just from where I sit right now in Vernon County, Reeds Creek, Ontario, Lafarge, And then down on Tanner Creek, all these municipalities are under the gun to get this kind of work done. So I think, it'll be an ambitious project, but we're going to try as much as possible to get the word out and let these municipalities that this is an option for them to do. La Crosse could either reduce their, or I'm sorry, the La Crosse municipality was looking, La Crosse city, sorry, the treatment plant was looking at a $33 million upgrade. And University Extension agent discovered that about this program, and he went to a lot of work, and he thought for $3 million, he could do all the stream restoration work and meet this and reduce their cost from 33 million to $3 million. But the person that was making the decision on what to do was an engineer for the treatment plant, and he said he would rather regulate and manage the treatment plant than these individual projects. So they, what a missed opportunity. I could not believe it. I mean, you look at La Crosse in the heart of the Driftless area. You look at the economic study of what that would bring in for the municipality and the surrounding area. I thought that was a huge missed opportunity for La Crosse not to do that. But they can easily pass off a 33 million. Sounds like a lot, but they were able to, they can pass that off to the users and do so. But a lot of our smaller municipalities, like the little village of Ontario and Lafarge, they're not able to do that. So I think we can work with them and do some projects, and it'll be a win-win for everybody. Oh my gosh, this must have been a pre-recorded one. I must have did it for somebody else because I hear my voice in the background. I was going to put in a plug for the Driftless Symposium, but I think what will probably happen is it'll probably be online this year, which may be actually better for a lot of you that have not been able to attend in the past. So we'll see that. We'll talk about that more. All right, this is my last slide. It's up on Hay Creek. It was put up by the landowner to let the fishermen know that they're more than welcome to fish the stream, but they need to cross the pasture in 3.7 seconds because the boat can do it in 3.8. So he wasn't saying you couldn't fish it, but you need to be fast. So with that, Jerry, I'd be more than glad to answer any questions. If I can stop sharing here, let's see.
Well, Jeff, thank you very much. I'm very interested in your planting trees now. Now you remember, you can't forget that sycamores are my thing.
Yep. Okay. All right. We'll
Take a
probably
look at sycamores. They're going to grow in Wisconsin in the next 50 years with global warming.
Yeah, well, and and there are trees like swamp oak, which seem to be real resistant to deer. For some reason, don't like to eat them, and stuff. I know when we tried the program CREP, Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, on a number of projects here in Vernon County, we did not push the program, but some landowners like Paul Hayes, a number of you have fished his project over in the West Fork, heard about it, and they got into it, and they tried to plant trees in that riparian corridor, and it is a tough sell. I mean, he had beaver, he had flooding, he had, you name it, he had weed, trout, try to keep track, the weeds, and it's a challenge. But I think we're going to start with a little bit larger stock, tree planting stock, and we're hoping that this is also another way to engage our chapters in the projects. If we do tree planting, it would be a great chapter engagement. Not in the other thing that we've been tasked is not only engagement of our chapters, but the citizens in the area, to also get involved. And I think, this kind of project would be a great project to do such. I think a lot of people like to plant trees. So.
Yeah, I know that I see them doing that in the eastern sector of the United States with Trout Unlimited and planting. And they, how you take out willows, they're actually planting willows in the east. And
well, even northwest Wisconsin, the tag alder, on the Vermilion River, which is just outside the Driftless of Minnesota. It's a slow moving river, huge floodplain. warming is an issue, so they're planting trees on that kind of a thing. But we've always said that we don't plant trees because we've got springs, and springs keep the water cold and we don't need the shade. So, and historically trees have been problematic because they rip out and cause a lot of erosion. So, but I think, we may try this in some of these areas, these high risk areas and give it a try. So.
No,
I'd be glad
Jeff-
to answer any questions.
Jeff, the one area that Jerry and I have fished a lot is that section by Snow Bottom Road down there on the blue. And
Yeah.
that thing is shaded all over the place with maples, oaks and everything. And that stream seems to stay cool all year long. I mean, we fish in the middle of July and it's great fishing there because there's plenty of shade to keep that water cooler.
Yeah, and there are a number of studies. I think there was a recent study done on the Kickapoo watershed, about they use some what they call Newsom funds, and the university did some studies, and it does show that it does help make a more consistent temperature, kind of a thing. So you don't have those spikes like you might normally have.
Right.
Bob, and Jeff, when we're up there on the blue in that section, you know what I've seen and noticed, and I hate to say this, what holds the bank a lot is roses. The wild rose bushes don't get wiped out, and they're great bank holders with their roots. But I don't really want to see them planted.
No, I was gonna say, I bet it wouldn't be too much fun going through that. No. Well,
Yeah, but
I
they
mean,
seem to hang in no matter how the flood, they don't get wiped out. Everything else could go, but that stupid rose bush is still there.
yeah, and we may experiment with some shrubs, and again, the advantage would be is that we will be planting what we want to plant, and
Yes.
and hopefully we won't make some mistakes like they did, with multiflora rose and some of those kind of things, and hopefully we've learned from those kind of lessons. Actually, Crown Vetch was another Natural Resources Conservation Service planting that was done on a lot of our flood control dams, and now it's all the way down through the valleys, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
it might have some merit. I mean, we're gonna start small with it and just see, and do some. We gotta do something. And what we've done in the past just doesn't work in some of those high risk areas.
Well, I think you can count on our chapter for help. We always like to pitch in.
Yeah, I think if there's anything that we all can agree on is that we're going to continue to see these, these high, these big storm events, and they're gonna cause some damage.
I have to. Other questions for Jeff? Somebody else, please. They can't be all out there with everything right. No questions? You got this.
No, I
man
just
that-
try to mix it up a little bit tonight, and just, I given presentations to your group before, and I didn't want to just do a repeat of the history of the driftless and all that kind of thing. So I thought, in the future, and like this one, if you got certain things you want to know more about, I am going to be coming out with an annual report of all the work that's been done in the driftless, probably in the next couple of months here over the winter. There's a lot of work that was still done even with a virus going on, but we still got a lot of stream work done. So I'm guessing it's probably another 15 miles or so. So I think it was another good year.
I would have one question, Jeff, before I let you go. What's planned for next year? What streams, do you know? What do you want to work on?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I get a report of where all the money is going through, especially the RCPP dollars. And one of the things I've asked this year from the DNR fish habitat crews and the DNR offices is to give me not only what they worked on this year, but to maybe give us an idea of what they're doing next year. Because one of the things I always tell them and our chapters up here and even the county field offices is that let us know what projects you're going to be working on next year, because there are chapters like your chapter that want to get involved and would be interested in knowing what those projects are. So But I haven't got a good list for you right at this moment.
Okay.
Hey,
Any
we're-
chapters?
We're
Any
looking at Paul's, like I said, we ourselves don't do a lot of projects. Paul does a project, we're looking at a couple stretches on the West Fork. Above Bloomingdale. That's work that I did actually back in the 90s, and it needs to be revamped a little bit. So we're trying to line the two landowners above Bloomingdale up, and then the DNR is going to do the next landowner up. So that's one project that we're looking at for next year.
Up there by Paul Hayes's property?
Paul Hayes is the one that the DNR is going to do.
Oh, good. It
See,
needs it.
Yeah, that's you guys often know these streams almost as good as I do, and I've lived here all my life. But it's but that so I usually don't say the names of them. But the West Fork Gap above Bloomingdale, Paul Hayes is ahead of that, and then the two landowners below that.
That'll be nice. It
Yeah,
needs
that
it.
gets a lot of
Have you
use.
Have you guys done any shocking surveys lately on these different streams to kind of gauge how many fish per mile that you have?
Yeah, that's a good question. And usually, when we have our symposium, we have the DNR kind of do reports on what their findings are. It's the Department of Natural Resources, both in Minnesota and Wisconsin, does the creel census. I know Dustin actually just finished last week helping the Minnesota crew do a couple projects over there. So we haven't seen the results of a lot of that, but some of that will be available this winter. And I've offered to the DNR fisheries to if they want to give me that kind of information, I'll put it up on our website, kind of a thing, because otherwise I really don't know what they do with that kind of stuff other than put it in their files. I did put up a recent video on the Driftless YouTube of Kirk Olson. He's a fish biologist from La Crosse, and he was talking about tracking of trout, how much movement the brown trout was doing. And he did I think, was it a PowerPoint or a video? Anyway, I got it from him and I put it up on the YouTube station as a way to share that information. So I'm hoping that we can do a lot more of that in the future and use the YouTube channel as a way for people to look at there and just see what the science is going on.
Yeah, I knew. I talked to Dave Rowe, who's going to speak to us next month, and he said that Brad Sims had done the Platte River system, surveyed all of it this year, and they're finding trout down where they thought there was only smallmouth before. So it's the report's not finished, and that's just verbal from what he's told me, but it's coming out. So it might be an interesting one. We may hear more about it next month.
Yeah, actually, Brad Sims is one of the ones that was going to present for me for the symposium. So, I'm hoping to reach out to a few of them, and I've done it myself. You can actually do a PowerPoint and record it, kind of a thing. Just sit there in your own office, record it. You make a mistake, you just go back to the next slide and you start recording, and it works really pretty well. So I'm hoping that I've always wished from our symposiums that that we were able to record them and do this kind of a thing, so that people can I can share them, because not everybody's able to make the symposium. So it may have some advantages of doing this like this. I would hope we would never go to this type of a format all the time, but I think for this year it may be a good format for getting some of the information out.
Yeah, the symposium is always so good. I enjoy it every time I get there, and I wish that more people could avail themselves for it. But it's very interesting. I'm never bored there. That's a day and a half that I sit with all ears, because everybody's got a new angle. Something comes up every year.
The Illinois Council has always been a sponsor, one of the sponsors of the symposium, and given us $1,000, and so we've been able to keep the costs down to under $100. But it's the hotel meals and stuff like that. They kill us on. So to keep it under $100 is a challenge.
all you have to do is tell this chapter that they have free beer over at the Freight House.
And we do have but we do have a great social afterwards. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
They'll
I
be
think I miss it. That'll be something that you aren't going to be able to do virtual.
Well, Jeff, it's been great. Anybody else have another question? All right. Jeff, thank you very much as usual. I appreciated
Anytime.
everything you do. And I hope we get to see the symposium in February live as
Yep.
well as recorded. I love it.
Good seeing some of you guys. I haven't seen for a while, but I recognize the faces and stuff. So, and Bob, if you want, Bob, you got my email that we can keep in touch, and I can either supply you with the video stuff, or I'd be glad to make a presentation too, whatever you want to do.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks a lot.
All right, everybody have a good night.
All
Thanks,
right.
Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff. Yes.
Good show. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hey, Jerry, great job. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Mark, you're still there? Mark Domagowski, if you're still there, stick on a minute. And Scott, hang on a minute. Afterwards, I want to talk to you guys about setting up a donation page on the website and see if that's going to be hard to do. So otherwise, I will see you guys later. Next month, we're going to have Dave Rowe. He's the head of the DNR chapter division out of Madison area. He's actually in Pittsburgh, and I've seen this program that Dave did before, and that's why I called on him to do it again. And I think you're going to like what you see. It really, really is informative, and be careful towards the end to record in your memory, and it'll be on recording anyway, of the streams with the highest number of large trout. He has a chart. You don't want to miss that. It's key. It's key for the night. It's a thing you don't want to miss. And if we record it, you can go back and get it. We also, I hope, I will have to ask Mark, I haven't looked at it yet, have Professor Rodolfo's stuff that he did for us last month. I think it's up on the website. So anybody that missed it, go back and take a look at the geology of the driftless. It's quite good. So good night, everybody, except Mark and Scott.
Good night, Jerry.
Good night.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Good presentation.
Go
Thank
fishing.
you.
Go out and fish.
All right,
Hi.
guys.
Yeah.
Oh, and Brent too. Hang on, Brent. Don't go away. Maybe you can get in on this too.
Sure, I'll stick by.
Okay. Where is my buddy Mark? I don't see you on here. You still with me, Mark?
I think Mark dropped.
Hmm?
I think Mark dropped.
Huh? Mark and Gomagowski?
Yeah,
Still there?
I think he left, Jerry.
Oh, shoot. Okay. He
Hey,
was
Jerry, I
more
just
keen.
wanted to
on,
let you
Jerry.
know, Josh and I found another new section of the Arkansas to fish that a lot of people don't know about. So maybe if it's still open when you guys come out here, maybe we could hit that. It doesn't
man.
look like it gets much pressure at all.
Sounds good up there. Sounds good.
So,
All
all
right.
right, take care.
Take
See you
care.
guys. Take it easy.
All right. Take care. Brent and Scott, what I'm looking for is the possibility of putting a donation page right on our website to use for a donation in lieu of a Christmas party this year. And so I wanted to ask Mark, and I didn't get to ask him before he left, Mark Domagowski. Brent, would you know anything about how that could work? Because we already have one John created for our sales. Is there anything that we can work out?
Yeah, I was going to suggest that we just link. Jerry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you barely. I was listening to John there for a while. Go ahead.
So I think the most efficient approach, assuming we want to use that TU platform to accept donations, would probably just be to add a link to the Lee Wolf website menu
Website.
that points to that
Thanks, Scott.
donation page that John created.
Okay. All right. That sounds perfect.
Should be really simple. I can email Mark about doing that.
Okay, if you understand a little bit more than me, and if you could do that, email Mark, I appreciate it, and ask him if he could do that. I just don't know the way to do it.
Yeah, no problem. I'll go ahead and shoot an email to him with a CC to you, and I'm guessing he'll be able to get that done in no time.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Brent. If you do that,
My
Mark
pleasure.
Walsall.
Yeah, I don't mean to be, kind of infringing upon this part of it, but if there's anything I can do to help, I'd like to become more active, and, if I can donate or help at all, Jerry, I'd like to, do what I can.
Well, sure, I'll be glad to have the help. Can you give me your email?
Sure, it's my last name at ameritech.net.
Good, got it. And then I will try to get a time when maybe you and I and Bob can get together and chat about this thing for the high school.
Yeah,
How's
sure.
that?
I mean, that's not all that far from where I live, and I'm more than happy to drive up and do what I can do. You guys do great work, and I have a passion for this, and I want to help.
Okay, that sounds good. We'll get it done.
Okay.
And
good deal.
I'll be calling on you next week, okay, or Monday, or I'll send an email and I'll talk to Bob and we'll get an email out to you and get the three of us all together sometime.
Good.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, Jerry.
All right.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for your work.
you. All right, thank you. And Scott Lammers,
Yes.
thank you again for doing the hosting. As
No
always.
worries. Hey, one thing for Jeff, and he was mentioning that symposium,
Yes,
and keeping costs down in hotel, food and beverage minimums and room nights and all that. I've been dealing with those kind of contracts for 10 years. So if he wants some help with any of that, I'd be more than willing to help out. So, you know what I'm
all
saying?
right. And I will let him know then, Scott. And actually, Scott, I can just give you, I'll send you Jeff's email. How's that
Okay,
sound?
that's fine.
That works, and you can let him know. He's done this, 6 years in a row, but
Yeah.
they always use some help setting it up. It's the question this year is are they going to go through with it? And that's the
Right, yeah,
question.
exactly. But
You
you
know.
can negotiate with the hotels a little bit to get your food and beverage minimum down, or the number of room nights, et cetera, which
All
can
right.
lower your admission costs.
Okay, that sounds good. Yep, sounds perfect.
Okay,
All right, I'll send that to you. Okay.
okay.
Okay. Take us out. Thank you.